Fear, terror, and deception. These are the tools of the modern-day holy war that ISIS claims to be fighting. And to a certain extent, they have worked. The Islamic State has grabbed the attention of nations around the globe and held it. For many, this constant flow of news has been hard to keep track of. So right now, we're about to summarize the basics of what you need to know about ISIS. The Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, commonly known as ISIS, has been a key point of debate throughout the past presidential election. Now, with President Trump in office, the eyes of the world are upon us as our new leadership decides what action to take against the growing threat.
We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth.
So let's go back to the beginning, or at least as far back as I can report accurately. Sometime around 1999, the group known as Al-Qaeda in Iraq grew in popularity after Sunni supporters of the recently deposed regime of Saddam Hussein filled their ranks. During the U.S. occupation of Iraq, AQI moved back and forth between Syria and Iraq. In 2006, AQI launched a rebranding campaign as the Islamic State in Iraq, or ISI. When the Syrian civil war broke out in 2011, ISI was quick to realize an opportunity and envelop Syria into its modern-day holy war, becoming the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria we know today. Under this new name, ISIS made its most significant gains in Iraq and Syria, bringing major cities like Mosul, Fallujah, Tikrit, and others under their control. All along the way, ISIS has been quick to seize valuable resources, such as oil fields, military bases, and hydroelectric dams. These captured assets are then put to work, raising funds to pay soldiers and expand their territory. But the road to power is lined with enemies, and the Islamic State has made plenty. In Iraq, the Islamic State battles for control against Kurdish and Iraqi security forces. In Syria, rebel groups fight a two-front war against the Assad regime and ISIS forces. All the while, a coalition of nations consisting of the US, France, Canada, Belgium, Australia, Denmark, Jordan, the Netherlands, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, and Britain have been launching airstrikes against IS forces in both Iraq and Syria. These coalition strikes are in response to lone wolf and coordinated attacks made across the world in the name of ISIS, such as the November 2015 Paris attacks and the Orlando nightclub shooting in 2016, which resulted in the deaths of 130 and 49 people respectively, as well as hundreds injured. Similar attacks can be attributed to the Islamic State's strong online presence, which has rallied many foreign fighters to their cause. Per a UN report on armed conflict in Iraq in 2015, an estimated 3.2 million people have been displaced, 36,245 have been injured, and 18,802 have been killed between January of 2014 to October of 2015. Though these numbers pale in comparison to other armed conflicts such as the Syrian and Somali civil wars, they are no less tragic. 18,802 men, women, and children who have lost their lives in senseless violence. These figures are only a small portion of those affected by ISIS, and the number continues to climb. ISIS is currently surrounded by enemies and facing an escalation of action from coalition forces, yet has managed to hold on to much of its territory. It is unlikely that there will be a swift end to the conflict, and even after everything is said and done, how the victors decide to deal with what remains of the affected lands and people will determine the future conflicts or peace within the region.